Hi friends, how are you? I'm great. I have coffee. I really enjoyed the thing I did yesterday, talking about talking about Have You Met Miss Jones and how to jazz all over that shiz. So I decided to do another one. Joined by the dog, who's currently chewing a thing on the ground. Today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite tunes, jazz tunes, which is entitled Stella by Starlight. Now, I learned this tune when I was at university. I went to university. I'm a learned man. I went to university to study jazz music, and my tutor, we had a specific guitar tutor, right? And he said to me that you need to a good thing to do is to pick one tune and really learn that tune down to the bones. Learn everything you can about it. Learn it in different keys. Learn it in different time signatures. All sorts of, you know. And that tune will stick with you for a long time. And this is that tune that I chose. It's stuck with me for a very long time. And it's an interesting tune because it's got some I suppose not super functional. I mean, it's not non-functional harmony, but it's the harmony itself is a little bit out of left field, I would say. I don't know. I was thinking about it, trying to think about how the harmony kind of functions, and I'll kind of try explain it to you. But beyond that, it's just a really beautiful tune. It was written by Victor Young, as far as I'm aware, for a movie. Again, like I said yesterday, a lot of jazz tunes are written for film or Broadway and things like that, and this was written for a movie, as far as I know. I know it's been sung by a lot of different singers over the years, but one of the ones that I really liked was Ella Fitzgerald singing this, and Jim Hall does a really fantastic version as well. So Stella by Starlight. Okay, so like I said, it's got a really beautiful melody as well. The first little thing that happens in the song is just, it's so beautiful. It starts, it's in the key of B flat. But so that one of the cool things about the song is it never really resolves to B flat until right at the end of the song. So you're never really kind of sure what key you're sort of in. And it starts in a really weird place. It starts on the sharp 4, I suppose. As a -7 flat 5 chord. Now, a -7 flat 5 chord is kind of one step away from a full diminished chord. It's also called a half diminished chord. So it's like a minor 7 chord. So it's kind of like I say, it's kind of in between these two. It's kind of in between -7 and full on diminished. So if you take an E minor, an E minor 7. E, G, B, D. That's your E minor 7. Now, if instead of playing a B, you play a B flat, you get that sound. And it acts as a 2 chord. Generally, how it's used in a lot of tunes is it acts as a 2 chord moving to a minor chord hum. So instead of a 2-5-1 being -7, dominant 7, major 7, you instead have -7 flat 5, 7 altered, and then maybe like -6. So it's got that kind of darker sound to it. Yeah, so that's a -7 flat 5 chord. So the first thing that happens in this is we start the song on an E -7 flat 5, which is kind of weird considering we're in B flat, like I said. But towards the end of the song, we kind of find out that is kind of acting as a jumping point to to the final turnaround to the resolution of B flat at the end of the song. Anyway, so like I say, the melody starts in this beautiful on the flat 5 of the E minor 7 flat 5, which would be the root of B flat major. So it's B flat, starts on the root of the key B flat, and then goes down to A, and the A being the 4 or the 11 of that E minor 7 flat 5. Isn't that beautiful? Such a friggin' beautiful sound, and it sounds even better when you play like a D triad. You get that natural 9 in there, as well as the 11. Doesn't it sound great? So that E minor 7 flat 5 is kind of home to its home place is kind of G minor, jazz minor is what they call it. I'll talk about melodic minor in a minute. That's kind of the scale that you'd use over there. Anyway, so that's the beginning of the tune. So it goes E minor 7 flat 5, and then to A7, which you'd expect going down a 4th, and then, like I said, normally what would happen there is it would resolve to a D minor, but it doesn't do that. It goes. That's the melody. Goes to an F, and then we're on a C minor chord. So again, it goes to the 11 of a different minor chord, but instead of it being a minor 7 flat 5, it's just a normal minor 7 chord, and then again beautiful, and then F7. So we've got F7, and then it goes from F7 to F minor, and it plays that F minor. And then goes to B flat, as you would expect. So 9 of F minor, so an F minor 9, back to that 9, which is a G, but it acts as a 13 for the B flat 7 chord, down to a B flat note, and that's our first kind of resolution in the song. We resolve from F minor to B flat to E flat, which is in fact the 4 of this tune, which we'll get to in a second. Okay, so all of that again, just the more I think about it, the more amazing it is. So we go to the 11 of an E minor 7 flat 5, which is then the root of A7, and then we go G, A, B flat, F, which is the 11 of C minor, and then the root of F, F7. Hi friends, thanks for joining me. Feel free to chat away in the chat. Going from that F up to a G. And see, the thing about this is the melody is all within a B flat major. I suppose it's more in kind of an F major. So maybe maybe it's more in an F major, but it ends on B flat. Anyway, beside the point. But all the melody kind of fits within that key, but the harmony that underlies that is just so fantastic. So yeah, F, G, which is an F minor, and B flat, and again, so that G is then 13 of that B flat, and then it goes down to B flat down the bottom there, and we have an E flat chord. So yeah, it's very much within B flat, and then the chord after B flat is a flat 7 chord on E minor 7 flat 5, A7, C minor, F7, F minor 13, F minor 9, B flat 13, E flat, A flat 7, and now we get back to B flat. Okay, Okay, so that's the first like 8 bars of the tune. Now the next, like I said, the next bit is kind of cool as well. It does this. The melody starts on a sus4, which isn't really kind of standard either. When you're kind of thinking about how a melody, I mean, it happens obviously, but it's just kind of weird against a B flat major 7 chord. Sounds nice though. Okay, so we're at our B flat major 7 chord, and then it goes back to this E minor A7, and at this point it actually resolves to that D. So we go so B flat, E minor 7 flat 5, A7, D minor. And so that's one of the things you kind of notice about the melody of this tune is there's so many like higher extensions that are being played over the chords, which is really cool. It's got that it's a more the harmony itself created by the melody and the chords is very is a bit more kind of complex, colorful than just a kind of a standard. I mean, it's a standard tune, but it's just got this, like I said, the harmony and everything of it. It's just really beautiful. Anyway, so yeah, again, when the melody goes up to G, which is the 11 of your D minor chord, and then it does this. I talked about this yesterday, kind of a backdoor progression kind of dealy, where it goes B flat minor, E flat 7, F. So a backdoor progression is kind of based on a minor plagal cadence, which is going from the 4 to the 1, but instead of it being a major 4, it's a minor 4. So in this case, the B flat is the 4 of an F major, and the E flat 7 is the related 5 of that B flat, and it resolves to that F major, which is really cool as well. So there's just all these great little things within the tune. So we D minor, B flat, E flat, F. Again, it's on the F chord. It starts on the sus4. The melody starts on the sus4 of that F chord. Back to that E minor 7 flat 5. Okay, so we're going F major, E minor 7 flat 5, A7. And this is where we change it up a bit. We go to A minor 7 flat 5, where we're kind of changing gear now, and then D7. So now we're at the bridge, and the bridge section starts off on an E flat, or goes D to E flat, which is acting as the sharp 5 of a G7 sharp 5 chord. G7 augmented. So like I say, again, another extension note, like a higher extension that in the melody, it just adds so much color to the tune, you know. And it goes up to an F, which is the 11 of the C minor, which is the next chord in the bridge. And then we go to this A flat 7, and the melody note is a D, which is the sharp 11 of that, or flat 5 of the A flat 7 chord. It's just so good. And then we go to C, which is the 9 of B flat. Isn't that great? It's just so good. And then, okay, so that bridge, right? E flat or D sharp, which is the sharp 5 of the G minor. Sorry, G7 sharp 5. F, which is the 11 of a C minor chord. D, which is the flat 5 of the A flat 7 chord, and then we get back to B flat and land on the C, which is the 9 of that B flat. It's just fantastic. And then we go, and then we're back to the last A section of the tune, and it does the same thing that it does at the top. going to the 11 of that E minor 7 flat 5 and A7, and then so this is where it kind of resolves. It goes through the cycle from E minor 7 flat 5 to A7 to D minor 7 flat 5 to G7 to C minor 7 flat 5, F7, B flat. That's the chord progression through that last A section, and the melody kind of goes along with that. And that's really the only place where, like I say, it resolves at that point, and it also the melody isn't a super high extension or anything. It's just the 5 of that B flat 7, which is kind of funny. Like right at the end of the tune, it chills out a lot more. But so that's the melody for that last section, which is the 5 of the D minor 7 flat 5. Then it goes to the flat 5 of the C minor 7 flat 5. And then, which is then the flat 9 of the F7, which resolves down to the 5, the F of the B flat 7. Yeah, cool. So, how to play through this tune it's tricky because, like I say, the harmony is anything but kind of standard, I suppose. So the first little bit, you can the E minor 7 flat 5. Let's look at that first. Now, like I said, I was going to talk about the about jazz minor scale. Now, a jazz minor scale jazz minor is kind of the colloquial term for a melodic minor scale ascending. So in jazz music, often the scale will be played, and it's a scale that is played a lot, and also you can create chords from it, which are kind of fantastic and jazzy, quote unquote. So like I say, it's the melodic minor ascending. So normally when you play a melodic minor scale, you play you go up the scale. So in the case of G minor melodic minor, it would be G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F sharp, G, and then on the way down you would flatten the 7th and the 6th. So you go G, A, E flat, D, C, B flat, A, G. And as far as I know, like I asked my music teacher in high school, why you do that, and apparently it's something to do with it's easier to sing those intervals on the way down or some business. So that's the thing. They decided to do that. I don't know. It was it's kind of a weird thing, and I've never really kind of learned those too much. Melodic minor, like melodic minor ascending and descending. Because I mean, like the descending is just an Aeolian scale, right? It's a just like a natural minor scale. So no, but anyway, so the melodic minor ascending is the one that we need to focus on. It's and so it's a scale with a major 7 and a major 6. A, B flat, C, D, E, E, and F sharp. So it's a minor major 7 sound. And it's a different kind of minor major 7 sound from a harmonic minor, which sounds like this. Kind of different sound. So this one, like I say, contains a natural 6 as opposed to a flattened 6, which gives you a kind of a different, darker sound. It's a G minor 6 sound. So so that scale is what you would use over top of an E minor 7 flat 5 or an E half diminished chord. This chord here. That or like a Locrian scale, but this one here has this what do you call it? 9, natural 9 sound, which I think fits in this context a little better. So that's that sound there for the E minor 7 flat 5. And then the A7, the scale I talked about yesterday, which was a bebop scale, an altered bebop scale. Now, there's something that I've actually, no, I'm going to talk about a different thing. There's something that I've taken to doing a lot over like dominant 7 chords in this sense. So in this case, see, the tricky thing about this is the A7 is not really resolving to the place that it normally would. So so you got to be careful when you're playing over it, because it's not conventionally resolving like it normally would to like a D minor or whatever. It's not doing that, but you know, you can we'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, something that I've taken to doing is playing augmented triad slash 4-note chords over a dominant 7 chord, right? It fits really well under the fingers on the guitar as well, and it resolves really nicely when you're playing it as a you know, in that kind of transition. But and it kind of comes from that scale that I was talking about yesterday, the kind of altered bebop scale. So you can hear how it kind of resolves to that D minor. And like I said, it's not actually resolving per se, because we're not actually going to a D minor, we're going to a C minor, which is a little bit tricky. But that is something that you can practice using that augmented sound. I think it sounds really cool, and it resolves really nicely. Other things that you can do over like an altered dominant 7 chord like that is playing you play a diminished arpeggio. Oh, sorry. Starting from the flat 9, which gives you a dominant 7 flat 9 sound. So like in this case, we play a B flat diminished chord, B flat, C sharp, or D flat, E, G, B flat, C sharp, E, G. Now, if the more observant among you would realize that, so that gives us the flat 9 of an A7, gives us the C, so the major third of the A7, the 5 of the A7, and the 7 of the A7. So it gives us all the notes of an A7 except for an A, which is, you know, we don't really need to play the root. So that's kind of a good thing to use there as well. It resolves really nicely to the chord which it's supposed to resolve to, but it doesn't, because we go to C minor instead. Now C minor is you know, it's a C minor chord, and because these chords and stuff aren't really resolving, you can be a little bit more liberal with what you do, I suppose, over top of the chord. You don't have to worry too much about resolving per se. So like over the C minor chord, one of the things I've taken to doing a lot lately as well is playing pentatonic scales. Now pentatonics, as a guitarist, you kind of learn pentatonics as a you know, a budding guitarist. You kind of learn these pentatonics and learn to do blues, you know, stuff. You get kind of bluesy and whatnot, but with there's a lot of possibilities with pentatonic scales in jazz music. So one of the things you can do is you can learn these kind of patterns through pentatonic scales, and one of the ones that I really like is this one. Oh, sorry. So it's there's a really good book by a guy called Jerry Begonzi. He's got like a series of books about improvising, and one of the books is pentatonics, and it's just got pages and pages and pages of different patterns you can learn of pentatonics, you know. You know, so those kind of things, and they sound really cool, especially when you're playing them over, you know, these chords. So, so playing those pentatonic scales over that C minor chord. So playing a C minor pentatonic, playing a D pentatonic, like a D minor pentatonic sound, over a C minor is going to sound great, because so D minor pentatonic is D, F, G, A, C, and D again, right? And so those notes are over a C minor chord. That's the 9, the 4, sorry, yeah, the 4 or the 11, the 5, the 6, which is a really like I say, dark sound, the root, which is fine, and then the 9 again. So playing, when you get to that C minor chord, playing D minor pentatonic licks, are going to sound really cool. So doing that. Then we're on to F7. So again, these the bebop scales that I talked about yesterday can be applied to these. That's the thing you can do as well. So much to, and there's a lot to talk about, but it's kind of me just getting all this out there. An F7. One of the things I learned a while back as well is how to use. Well, we're talking about minor 7 flat 5 chords, right? So minor 7 flat 5 chords are kind of fantastic because you can use them. You can kind of substitute them over top of other chords to give you different extensions, right? So if you look at, for example, we've got right now we're in F7 sound, right? F dominant 7, F, A, C, E flat, F, A, C, E flat, F dominant 7. Now that's fine. You can play an F7 arpeggio, and that's going to sound fine. But if you go to the next note, the A, and you think about A minor 7 flat 5, which is A, C, E flat, G, that outlines an F dominant 7, an F9 sound. So it's got that G in there, which gives you an F, like I say, F9 sound. So when it comes to an F7 chord and you play an A minor 7 flat 5, it's going to give you that F9 sound, which is kind of cool. Just adds in a little bit more color, yeah. And then if you take it a step further, play a C minor 7 flat 5, which is C. Oh, wait a second. What am I talking about? Yeah, that's right. So you play C, E flat, G flat, B flat over an F7 chord. That gives you the 5, the dominant 7, the flat 9, and the sus4, which is a really great sound as well, like an F, like a flat 9 sus4 sound, which sounds a little bit like this. Give me a second. How do I play that as a chord? Normally I'd play it like that. It's a really interesting sound. What's that? That's an E flat minor. So like that, yeah. So it's a sus4 sound, but also with a flat 9. So it's a really interesting sound. So yeah, so if you play a C minor 7 flat 5 over an F7, you get that sound. Now, one more step further, you could. So this is me going through the different notes of an F7, right, and then playing a minor 7 flat 5 from any one of those notes. So taking one from the 3rd, and it just gives you a nice F9 sound. Do it from the 5th, and it gives you a minor 7 flat. A flat 9. sus4 flat 9 sound. And then if you go from the 7th, E flat, play a minor 7 flat 5 from an E flat, it gives you E flat, which is the 7, G flat, which is the flat 9, A, which is the 3rd, and C sharp, which is the sharp 5. So we get a flat 9 sharp 5 sound. The cat and the dog are fighting. Stop it, you two. Which is really which is cool, and it's easy. It's kind of easy, but it's an easy kind of quote unquote life hack, guitar hack for playing. And you can do the same if you play the chord. Just like when you're comping or whatever you're playing, you come to an F7 instead of playing just an F7 shape. Play an A minor 7 flat 5 shape. That's going to give you F9, or you can play a C minor 7 flat 5 shape, or you can play an E flat. Hear how that resolves? So that's just an E flat minor 7 flat 5, but it's functioning as an F7, and it resolves nicely to your B flat minor. Anyway, so off topic. So we're at F7 in the tune. So yeah, you can play because it's not really resolving anywhere to it. No, it's not resolving to a B flat. You don't need to. I mean, you can put a bunch of extensions on and create some tension to resolve, but it's just not necessarily resolving directly to where we'd expect it to. It then changes to F minor, B flat, and E flat. Now this is the place where we've just got a standard minor 7 minor 2 7 1 sound. Nice little resolution where you can play a 2-5-1 kind of thing. So playing like I said before, I talked about things you can use over a dominant 7 chord. Cut it out, you two. Jeez. Always continually trolled by animals. Give me 1 second, sorry. So you can there are a couple of different things that you could do in the space of that B flat, right? So I mean, normally kind of what I do over the F minor is use that like Bebop scale. So I kind of just treat the F minor as a dominant B flat dominant 7 and play a B flat Bebop scale. And then over the B flat, like I say, you can use those augmented sounds or those diminished sounds. Ooh. Yeah, so you've got F minor. You got that kind of thing going on, and I mean, 'cause the purpose of the augmented sound and the diminished sound is to create tensions that then resolve to where we're going. That's another thing you can do, and that crops up a lot in jazz music, is this thing called enclosures, where you have a target note. Excuse me. You have a target note. So in this case, my target note might be we're on an E flat major 7 chord, and the target note is the 3rd, a G, which is always a good place to resolve to, because it really outlines that. Really outlines the sound of the chord. So my target note is an E flat. So what I do is I play notes either side of that and resolve to the note. So like this. So I play A flat, G flat, G, and it resolves to the G, which is the 3rd of the E flat. So how that might sound in a line would be maybe something like this. Maybe. Okay, see what I mean then? There you go. So you can hear in that line the resolution. So that's a good thing to do. And another thing you can do with bebop scales. So the kind of the kind of ethos the idea behind the bebop scale is, like I say, to line up chord tones with the downbeats, right? With the strong beats, so that you're outlining a chord. So you can take that idea and kind of run with it, right? So you don't have to start from any particular note. So you could just choose. One of the exercises we would do at university is to just take a random note. So say I'm in B flat 7, right? And just choose a random note. I'm just going to go with that E there, and then work your way into a bebop scale from there using chromaticism. So in this case, you could just go. You can chromatic down from the E to a D, and then continue on with your normal bebop scale. So, or you could work, so you're just creating, you're using chromaticism to line up the chord tones of the on the downbeat. That's kind of the crux of what the bebop scale does, and so you can use that kind of from anywhere on the instrument, right? So if I say if I started on a G and I'm on B flat, right? I mean, you don't even have to put in chromaticism. You can just go G, A flat, B. So in that case, you're kind of not doing the bebop scale, because if you start on the G and bebop scale from there, everything becomes off the beat and you fuck it up. So don't do that. You just play as if it were a normal scale. So G, A flat, B, and then continue with the normal scale. Cool. So that's what you can kind of do there. So where did I get to? We've resolved to E flat major 7, and since we're in the key of B flat, it's like an E flat major 7 with a sharp 11. It's a Lydian sound, right? Which sounds really nice. You two, cut it out. Jesus. They constantly fight. Like Chai is like a year old, and Alfie is just this old man cat, and Chai constantly trolls him, like puts her jaws over his face and just goes like and then like pulls his tail and stuff, and he just sits there and takes it. It's really bizarre. They have an interesting relationship. Anyway, this is an E flat major 7, but with a sharp 11 sound, right? So you can really ham it up on the sharp 11 sound. So for one, you can just play a B flat major scale. In that case, but a really good sound to use, like I talked about before, pentatonic scales. A pentatonic scale which works really well as a Lydian sound is a minor scale from the major 7. So in this case, we've got E flat major 7, right? Play a pentatonic scale from the major 7, so a D minor pentatonic scale. That's going to give you the notes D, F, G, A, and C, right? So those notes in relation to an E flat major 7, sorry, are the major 7, the 9, the third, the sharp 11, or the flat 5, but in this case we're thinking about it as the sharp 11, and then the 6. So it's a really, over that E flat, it's a really nice sound. Really nice kind of bright sound of the Lydian. So that's a really kind of cool thing to do. So if you know your pentatonic scales, play anytime you want a Lydian sound, play a minor pentatonic scale from the major 7 of your chord. So if we're doing B flat, play an A minor pentatonic. Gives you that Lydian sound. Anyway, and then we go on to this really interesting chord, A flat, dominant 7, flat 5. Excuse me. Really interesting sound. And I suppose I mean, there's a couple of different things you can do in this case. It's acting as it's a secondary dominant chord, so it's not really going to resolve anywhere. It's kind of a stagnant chord, and it's got a really interesting sound, right? So we've gone. It's got a really interesting sound, and so there are a couple of scale options that you can use over this. You could just use a normal bebop scale. You could do that thing that I said before, with playing those minor 7 flat 5 arpeggios. So you could play it in this case a C minor 7 flat 5 is gonna outline like the A flat 9 kind of sound. But something I generally would use over this is an E minor, an E jazz minor scale. Sorry, E flat jazz minor scale. That sound. Because what it does is it gives you like it's okay. So E flat jazz minor is E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, D, E flat. And so what that does in relation to an A flat, dominant 7 flat 5 sound is your 5, 6. My mind's not working. 5, 6 flat 7, which is standard. Root. 9, 3rd, flat 5, 5. Is that right? Yeah. So that's what that does in that case. And what you can do from that as well is you can play an E minor major 7. Sorry, I keep saying E, but I mean E flat minor major 7 arpeggio. Is going to sound really good over that A flat 7 as well. So there's so many different options, and I can get carried away with all the sort of things that happen there. But so that scale that you're making is a mode of that E flat jazz minor scale. It's the it's the Lydian. So mix. What do you call it? It's the what the hell do they call it? It's a mode of the E flat jazz minor scale. So the jazz minor scale can have all these modes as well. What I mean by modes, if you don't really know what a mode is where you take a scale and you play it from a different degree of the scale, and it gives you a different scale. So in this case, in E flat jazz minor, that would be E flat jazz minor. If you start it from the 2nd, you get this sound, which I believe is, again, I can't remember the name of the damn scales. You start it from the 3rd, it gets a different scale again. Started from the 4th, and that's the one that I'm talking about. I was starting it from the 4th of the jazz minor scale. Hi there, thanks for joining. Lydian augmented? No, it's Mixolydian something. It's just play the damn scale. But that's the sound it gets, and it works really nicely over that A flat. So that's what you could use over there. The other one that you can use is an augmented scale. Sorry, what am I talking about? Whole tone scale. Now, a whole tone scale is just a scale built from whole tones. So you just play whole tones one after the other. So if we start on A flat, we go upper whole tone to B flat, upper whole tone to C, upper whole tone to D, upper whole tone to E, upper whole tone to G, upper whole tone to A flat. So it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 note scale, and it's got that kind of sound. Sorry. So it works kind of well over there. And so the kind of the difference between those two sounds, when you're playing this the one from the jazz minor scale, it's kind of different. It's different because the whole tone scale gives you the flat 5 and the sharp 5. In this and in the jazz minor mode, it gives you the flat 5 and the natural 5. So it just kind of depends on. So I suppose one is Mixolydian, Lydian, or no, god damn it, my brain's not working. I suppose in that scale, that is being counted as a sharp 4 or a sharp 11 rather than a flat 5. So it's a slightly different sound. They're subtle, very subtle. Anyway, from there we go back to B flat major 7. Now a good thing to do is to practice arpeggios of all these chords as well. Sorry. So you've got those arpeggios under your fingers as well, and so you can play those over any of the chords. So if you have the arpeggios, they're obviously going to work over top of any of these things. Okay, so B flat 7, that's fine. Now we go back to, we have E minor 7 flat 5, A7 to D. So now we have another resolution we can kind of play with, and so you can do various things. Like I said, like over that, you can. It's only 1 bar long as well, so you can treat it as just an A7 chord, and therefore play just A7 ideas to resolve to that D minor. So like the two things I said before, you got augmented dominant 7 arpeggio, or diminished from the flat 9, or you can use that scale that I talked about yesterday, the kind of bebop augment. Sorry, my words aren't working. Altered bebop scale. So in this case, it'd be A, B flat, C sharp, D, E, F, G, G sharp, A. And you can hear how that resolves really, really nicely to the 5 of a D minor chord, right? Cool. So that's what we do. Sort of do. Look. Okay, so that's a nice resolution thing you can kind of do there. And like another thing you can, and I would suggest doing, is learning the arpeggios for each of those chords as well. So E minor 7 flat 5, A7. So through that little progression, you've got I lie, it's 2 bars, not 1 bar. So we've got no, it is 1 bar. I lie a second time. It is 1 bar. So through that would be something you could do. See how you can hear how the line outlines, and that's because all I'm doing is playing arpeggios of those chords, right? So you get kind of what I mean. You can there are multiple different ways to play through those. Some which are just blanket scale, so using the altered bebop scale, or playing arpeggios over top of those chords and really outlining kind of what's going on. You could there's pentatonic ideas you could use as well, but I won't get into that for now. D minor, and like I said before, you can use a pentatonic scale from a tone up over a minor chord, and it's going to give you some nice extension. So in this case, E minor. And you can take that same idea that I said before about the E minor 7 flat 5. You know, taking a minor 7 flat 5 scale, arpeggio or chord, and playing it over top of the dominant 7 chord gives you those extensions. You can take that same idea and use other arpeggios or chords over other chords. So what I mean is this D minor chord, right? Rather than just playing a D minor 7 arpeggio, you can play a major 7 arpeggio, major 7 arpeggio from the third. So in this case, F. So if you play F major 7 over D minor, it gives you a D minor 9 sound. That sound. And then if you do it from the fifth, it gives you a D minor 11 sound. And then if you do it from the seventh, it gives you a blah 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 blah. Also, you've got to kind of alternate. So when you're playing from the third, you play a major 7 chord. When you play from the fifth, you play an A minor 7 chord, and then when you play from the seventh, you play again a C major 7. So that's going to give you a minor 13 minor 6 sound, which is a little ambiguous, but you can do that kind of thing. And so you can string those ideas together. So when in a D minor chord, you can play those arpeggios and get a really, get all those extensions in there and get some really nice kind of sounds. Anyway, so that's your D minor, and then we go to B flat, E flat, F. So again, you can just play B flat ideas, B flat minor ideas. It resolves nicely to F. I suppose the bit I wanted to get to before I finish up here, I've been going for nearly an hour, but the bridge section is a really interesting, fun section. And for a while, when I was playing this tune, I didn't really I don't know why it didn't really occur to me, but the G7 is just acting as a 5 of the C minor chord. So the first chord in the bridge is a big ass G7 altered chord. And you can use all those, like I say, all those sounds that I talked about. So, like I said yesterday, so things to do. There's a lot of things that you can do over an altered dominant 7 chord, and I suppose I want to talk about that at length at some point. But things to do over a dominant altered 7 chord, you can do all those minor 7 flat 5 ideas. So in this case, a B minor 7 flat 5. D minor 7 flat 5 or an F minor 7 flat 5, and that's going to give you all those extensions of the G dominant 7 chord. You can play those augmented sounds. You can play those diminished sounds. Yeah, or you can play that altered bebop scale. And you can play the tritone substitution thing that I talked about yesterday. So in this case, a D flat minor 7. D flat dominant 7 in the place of that G minor. G7. I keep mixing up my thing. In the place of that G7 is going to give you those nice extensions because of the relationship between the two tritone chords, right? So playing a D flat dominant 7 chord in the place of that G minor, G7 is gonna be a nice amount of tension as well for that dominant 7 chord. Okay, so you've got those things. You've got the minor 7 flat 5 things. You've got the augmented arpeggios, diminished arpeggios, bebop, altered bebop scale, tritone substitution, and one other thing that I really like is playing a major 7 sharp 5 arpeggio from the third of the dominant 7 chord. Gives you some nice extensions as well. So in this case, a B major sharp 5 arpeggio, which is B, D sharp, G, and B flat. So that gives you the third, gives you the sharp 5, gives you the root, and it gives you the flat 9. Sorry, sharp 9, which is a nice. Okay, so there's a couple of things there you can, so doing the B major 7 sharp 5 arpeggio over the G is going to give you those nice extensions, and the other one is an E dominant 7. So there's 3 kind of interesting sounds going on there. Your D flat 7, which is the tritone of G, E 7, which is the 6th of that G, and it gives you the 6 or the 13, the flat 9, the 3rd, and the 5th. So it's a little less, not as many extensions, but still some good tensions there. So E dominant 7, and then B augmented, major 7 augmented over that G is going to be really nice as well. So heaps of ideas for that G, because it's like 2 bars of G. So there's heaps of stuff that you can kind of do there to create lots of tension and then resolve to the C minor. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking about that now, and I'm just going to play a little bit over this, because I've been going at this for an hour. That was a lot of stuff, a lot of ideas. I hope that can be helpful for your playing and things like that. I'm hoping to do more of these, because I kind of enjoy just kind of talking about about jazz and music and things like that. So I'm probably going to do more things like this. I might do some more simple things, more simple ideas and concepts for jazz music. But yeah, I'm just going to play Stella by Starlight now, and hopefully I can outline some of those ideas that I kind of put forward. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again soon. This is Stella by Starlight. There you go, Stella by Starlight. Hopefully you've learned something from watching this, and hopefully I was able to demonstrate some of that in my jazzy play thing. Thanks for joining in. I'll see you all again soon. Bye.